What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Speaking Nerd podcast, where we talk about all things nerdy. And today we're talking about something that I have wanted to talk about for a while. I'm sure Marvel has wanted the right people to talk to about it. And obviously, the other two guys have not seen or played what we're about to talk about.
I mean, Alter
And we're
did
going to talk.
Alter played a little bit of it
Did,
on stream, but
did he?
or at least he talked about doing so.
Oh,
Because
I
remember, he
didn't know
made a
that.
thumbnail for. I'm certain he did a session on his channel for live streams. So
Well, guys, what we're going to be talking about is The Last of Us. Now, I have just recently gotten into The Last of Us because my brother had started playing it, and he had nothing but praise. Um, but I had seen gameplay before, and particularly when Part 2 came out, obviously we were all around when it was like just destroying the Game Awards, and it like
yeah,
won everything. It was just nothing else but The Last of Us Part 2. So I watched some gameplay of that, and I really loved the gameplay, and then I watched some of the first one, thought it was awesome, but I never really knew what the story was about. So fast forward to quite recently, my brother is playing it. I'm like, oh, it looks pretty interesting. Maybe I should give it a try. And he's like, you should play it. So I played it, and now I'm a full-thread fan. So there you go. That's how it worked.
pretty
I
much.
was like, I was bitten.
Yeah,
So
he was
it's
bitten
great.
with the Last of Us bug, and I kind of am too because because he started playing it and he was like, "Oh man, this game is so great!" I'm streaming it on my YouTube channel, and all that. I'm like, maybe I should play it again, and
Yeah.
uh, yeah, so I'm gonna be going through it pretty soon for reasons that do not involve reviews. No,
It's not a review, guys.
no, it's not. No, no,
Um,
no, no, no. But
it's for the side project on
yeah,
intensive treatment.
side
And
project.
if you
Yeah,
don't know
that's
what that is, that's the show where we talk about all things Arkham and now The Last of Us.
yeah.
So go check that out.
Yeah, that's the only two things that we
Um,
talk about there. It's just like Arkham and Last of Us.
Batman Arkham Joel, releasing 2026.
I think I might have asked you, it was like, how would Arkham Batman like survive the
You did.
Last of Us universe? You were just like, he would.
Yeah, and then you brought up the good point. You were like, I think he would be like Bill, and he would be a hermit, and he would just like be a badass.
Yeah, he's just planting
He would take
explosives
over a
everywhere.
town.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, but so that I think we should start off with our initial kind of entry points to the series. I kind of just said mine anyway, but I don't really know yours. So how did you come to first play this game? Did you like it?
Well,
Um,
okay, so I first played this. It was very late to the party, but when I got my PS5 or not PS4, back
oh
in
boy.
2015, 2016, Arkham Knight was still like they were still doing season pass stuff, so I think it was like at the tail end of that year.
Yeah.
So I got my PS4 and it was Arkham Knight bundled with it, but it was also bundled with The Last of Us Remastered. Now I knew of The Last of Us prior because I watched the Game Awards back in 2011, and that's where it was first announced. And
Mhm.
completely forgot about it afterwards. And then yeah, once I got my PS4, I played it for the first time after doing like 4 separate playthroughs of Arkham Knight back to back. And I didn't really get that far into it, to be honest. I put it down after like maybe an hour or two. But
Mhm.
then when I did my Let's Play of it back, this was years ago, back in 2017, uh, back when the LP channel was the main channel, um,
Mhm.
it was essentially a blind playthrough, and like I just was hooked on it instantly. Like I couldn't wait for the sequel to come out. I did play the sequel when it was first released, and oh boy, we'll get into that later. But um,
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't know that you want to talk about that, Marvel. I know how you get.
Well, yeah, but yeah, The Last of Us, like the first one, is probably one of my favorite games of all time. Like it's in my top 10 for sure. It is an
Wow.
amazing time. I think everybody should play it at least once in their lifetimes.
Mhm.
So, but for this video, we're just going to be going over both games, like story, gameplay, all how we feel about each of them. And I
Yeah.
know that when we get to part two, there's going to be some differing opinions, which is not really common with me and Swifty, surprisingly.
Yeah, usually Marvel and I are the ones that agree on most stuff, or kind of we both find common ground in whatever we're talking about, even if
Yeah,
there's a small disagreement. It's more Alter and AJ who can't get their shit together on the
yeah,
podcast.
they're the contrarians, not us.
Well, so I'm in the same boat as you. Like, I I think this is one of the greatest games ever made, at least greatest games that I've ever played. Um, and I was very late to the party too. Like I said, I mean, this is really recently, like past month and a half that
Yeah.
I first played it. Um, I mean, clearly, who the hell hasn't heard of The Last of Us? I mean, I had known about it for a while,
Well, a lot more
but
people are aware now thanks to the TV show. So,
yeah, it's great. And anyone who hasn't seen it yet, either do what Marvel's doing and wait until it's over and binge it, or it's on every Sunday. I've been watching it. It's nice because I've been watching it with my family, so it's a nice kind of way to introduce my mom and my dad to a game because they don't play video games at all. So,
yeah.
and they're really enjoying it. This episode ended this past week, and I know Marvel hasn't seen it, so I won't spoil anything. But it ended, and it was the shortest episode so far. It was like 45 minutes, and
Mm.
she goes, "That's it? That's it?" I was like, "Yep, wait
Wait
until
till
next
next
week."
week.
No, I'm like, "Yup, cope, play the game, play the game." Then you'll know what happened.
Play it again. Um,
Um, but the first game, I was surprised at first off how well the remastered version holds up to modern games.
yeah,
And I was streaming, either it was the first stream I did or it was the most recent one. And Marvel was in it, and we were talking about PS3 era games. And the topic came up, and Marvel said, Last of Us is definitely one of the best looking and prettiest games of the PS3 era. And I couldn't agree more. Like, graphically and atmospherically, it captures something that not a lot of games can. Um,
yeah.
I call it like Arkham Asylum syndrome. It's like they just get whatever the game is trying to convey perfectly. Um, and The Last of Us is definitely in that field.
Yeah, I was. You mentioned it being PS3 era, and I was just remembering that a lot of people seem to forget that this was a PS3 game at first. This didn't
Yeah,
come out on PS4 originally.
right.
Um,
I No, go ahead.
it was it's just weird because you see people talking about it's like, oh yeah, I played The Last of Us. It's like, did you play it on PS3? It's like, no, I played it on PS4. It's like, oh okay.
Yeah,
But yeah, like it's crazy that people just kind of forget that, and now I'm sure in years passing, a lot of people are just going to forget that it was on PS4 to begin with. Now that this
hmm
remake is out, which
yeah,
um, I mean, I'll talk about it a bit later,
yeah,
but yeah, I guess we should get into story
yeah. Let's
first.
do it.
And wow, what an incredible narrative!
Yeah,
Everything works. Everything connects really well. Like there is no words that could be said about how perfect this story is. How perfect it is. Like pacing's great. Characters. Literally everything. I mean, I sound like
yeah.
a broken record, but it's true. It
No,
really
it's
is
true.
true.
Yeah, I mean, from the second you boot up the game and you play as Sarah, already it gives this sense of uncertainty. It's very creepy feeling. Um, I'm replaying it now for the second time in like 2 weeks, and just that opening scene when you see the static on the TV and then you see the outbreak on the TV in Joel's room. And then
Yeah.
when the neighbor is banging on the glass, it's like you're set up for a ride. And a lot of games can't necessarily do that. Some have a slow opening, but this one just cuts right to the chase. It's like, yeah, you got to run for your life, keep your daughter protected, and then immediately you start to care about Joel and Sarah. But Joel
That was the
particularly,
first red flag.
yeah, and particularly Joel. It's interesting to me because when I first played it, I didn't expect to have as much sympathy for Joel as I actually ended up having. Um, I mean, that intro sets it up perfectly. It's like you feel for this guy. He just lost his daughter in such an unjust, terrible way. Um, and you see this amazing growth of Joel um,
Yeah.
throughout the game, obviously. But that intro, man, I love playing through it. It's so fast paced, and the graphics look incredible, especially when all the explosions are happening, when the gas station blows up and
Yeah.
all the cars are crashing. It's great.
Yeah, the opening's fantastic.
Yeah,
Like I love Sarah. Like just even the like right at the start when the two of them are sitting on the couch together, like you really do
yeah,
fall in love with Sarah and Joel for that matter, and like
yeah.
everything goes at a lightning fast pace, and it actually is kind of terrifying, which
Mm,
is weird for me to say because I don't really play scary games all that much. Like I'm
yeah,
like you try to get me to play anything terrifying, and I'll probably just be yeeting out of there as fast as possible. But The Last of Us is a weird exception to that because I think
yeah.
just the game overall is fantastic. But um,
I
yeah,
think a part of that is because the game feels so grounded. Um,
yeah,
like it feels like it could potentially happen. Like that set of events, these scenarios, it feels very grounded in reality. And there's a lot of real decisions that these characters make. So I think that's part of the love of the characters in the story for me.
yeah. I like that feeling too, where everything just feels genuine. Like there's
Yeah,
not it's not like caricatures of what a person is. Like they feel like actual people that you can
right.
interact with. And
Yeah,
so yeah, the opening is great. The first like couple hours afterwards is great too. Like just meeting Tess and uh, Marlene and Ellie. Like just that whole setup to how the rest of the game will go is just
yeah.
great and emotional too, especially near the
Oh
end of
yeah,
it.
absolutely.
Yeah.
There's a lot of scenes that are just, I mean, gut wrenching to say the least.
Yeah.
One that comes to mind is when Henry kills his brother, um,
Yeah.
which is kind of toward. Would you say that's the middle of the game, or is that borderline, kind of bordering on the end? It's not the end, but you know what I mean, like
It's yeah,
middle-ish end.
middle-ish. Yeah, I'd say.
That part just. When I first saw it, I was so completely shocked. I was like, "There's no way." And then you get to caring about Joel because you're like, "Oh crap, Joel might get shot here. We have no idea what's going to happen." Um, that was that was a ride.
Speaking of emotions,
Oh God,
the
what?
first time I played through this and this
Mhm.
was in front of an audience too. Um,
Oh boy.
around there were two moments that kind of broke me. The first one was at the end of the winter segment when it's
Hmm.
Ellie fighting against I forget. No, it's not Bill. Whatever that
I think
dude's
I know.
name is.
It's the cannibal
Yeah,
hillbilly dude.
yeah, the
Yeah, I know
cannibals.
who you're
Yeah,
talking about.
just spoilers, by the way. It just
Yeah,
completely butchers this guy with a machete, and then Joel shows up, and like when they leave, and it shows the last shot of that machete handle, like it was bad. And then the other part, which was just the ending itself, it has that profound, powerful effect on people, and it worked on me.
yeah,
So,
yeah. Me too.
and I
I
rarely
think
cry at stuff. Like I don't really cry at movies all that much, and I
I
certainly don't
don't
really
take
cry at
you as
video
that
games.
person
So,
either. Yeah, I don't take you as that guy. Like, I don't know. I just like guys. I've known Marvel for how many years now? Like 2018 or 19 or something like that. And I've never thought of him as a crier.
No.
Like, he's very much, bro. This man is Joel in real life. When I tell you, he is him.
Hard-boiled son of a bitch.
But yeah, the ending of the game for me is first off, it's one of the greatest video game moments. And actually, to me, it's one of the greatest fictional moments. Um, I mean, how do you feel towards Joel? Like, because I know when I played it, it's like you have a mixture of emotions, and I almost wasn't sure what to feel. It's like it's wrong, but at the same time, it is not completely wrong.
Yeah, it's justifiably terrible what he does, but at the same time, though, you can't help but feel bad for the dude. Like,
Yeah,
after all the shit
and
that they went through, and like even just him telling Ellie, like, hey, you're not special. There's tons of, immune people. Like, I mean, you're angry at him, but also you're like, I could understand why he would feel the need to do this. So,
yeah,
yeah.
I mean, part of it is selfishness. Clearly, I mean,
Oh,
he's
yeah,
getting
no, totally.
this second chance at being a dad. Um, and but it's also there's this sense that it's not completely selfish. Um, because there's that moment where he's like, "Oh, she's gonna die," and
Yeah.
I don't know. You just get this sense that it's not completely about him. A lot of it is, but some of it's like there's this little girl in there who deserves to live her life and
Yeah.
choose to whether she should live or die is not really the question. It's should she be the one to choose if she lives or dies? Yes, she should.
Mm.
So I love that kind of confliction of human emotion that the game it really tears you apart. It's like, damn, I don't know what to think here.
I know, yeah. And just you're watching it being like I can't justifiably be on his side for most of it, but also I want to be on like I want to support this, but like
Yeah,
so you're
I
caught in
mean,
the middle of it, kind of.
yeah, I mean, sometimes I think like technically, yeah, Joel is killing people who are not good people as well. They they have killed a lot of innocent people.
Mm-hmm.
They're taking this chance of life away from this girl who should be able to say it's her life.
Yeah,
Um, I don't know. It's just it's like the scales of justice. But what a terrific game,
yeah,
terrific ending,
yeah. Terrific ending. Just that moment of
terrific.
her, like when the two of them are just like on top of the mountain or whatever, and she's just like, "Swear to me, you told the truth about everything," and he's just like, "Yeah, I did." And that final reaction of her just being like, "Okay," like
Yeah,
it just ugh, it
yeah,
tears at those heartstrings, man.
yeah.
Um,
I think that was the perfect spot to end the game too. I love how it just cuts to black immediately.
I like how
It's like,
ambiguous it is too. After I went through the first after I went to the second game, I should say. Like going back, like I love that is it feels like a nice closure, but things could happen, and you're
right.
not sure where it'll lead to.
Hmm.
And I mean, I'm sure I'm not the only one who've said like you don't. I don't think The Last of Us really needed a sequel. I think you could just have
Hmm.
ended there, and it would have worked perfectly well.
Hmm.
But
Yeah.
um, yeah, so the ending, like besides all these very powerful moments, like there is some kind of part of it where it's like, this would work fine as just a one game only title instead of
Hmm.
needing to turn it into a franchise or whatnot.
Yeah.
But yeah, yeah. I mean, as far as other stuff, like all the characters, I love Joel, Ellie, Sarah, Henry, Sam, Bill,
Yeah.
Tess, Marlene, everybody gets time to shine, and they're all great.
Yeah. Um, I think that's most of the first game, but I kind of wanted to see if you wanted to talk about Left Behind as well. Um, which is a really good tie-in. I enjoyed it. It's a prequel to the first game. Takes
Yeah.
place like what, a couple weeks before the first game.
So yeah, it's like it's 3 weeks because Ellie mentions in
Okay.
the story that that's how long her bite was when they met Joel
Oh
and
right.
Tess. So, to tell you the truth, I've never actually played through Left Behind.
You bastard!
I only know what happens because I've seen your stream going through the whole thing.
Wow, wow,
Yeah,
man, we're getting some truth in here.
yeah,
Um, I thought it was great. I love that. I mean, again, it's kind of like what you said with the second game. It's like it didn't need a sequel. Like we didn't need to see what happened. I kind of like how The Last of Us makes you use your imagination to understand what might have happened in these scenarios.
yeah.
Like, how did the virus break out? Like, oh, well, you can kind of decide for yourself. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, like how did it break out? What happened between like the 20 years of Joel just surviving on his own?
Yeah.
All these relationships with Tess and Tommy. Like, it, I like that it doesn't tell you directly, or for most of it anyway. It's just like this happened. We're gonna move on, and
Mm-hmm.
that's it.
Yeah. And like you brought up Tess, I think her and Joel's chemistry and the story of them is great because at first you don't really know if they're just partners or they're actually lovers
Yeah, you feel like
and
there's something
partners.
more in there, but at the same time that like you're not sure either. So
Yeah, like I still don't know. Like to be honest with you, like they seem more like maybe they had some history,
yeah,
but they're not like that anymore,
mm,
or they weren't really for that long.
yeah,
But it doesn't matter. Like that's the great thing about the game. You can decide for yourself.
yeah. It's
So
it's
I
not
don't
trying to
think it
hammer you in
needed
the
Left
face over
Behind.
everything, which is something I like in video
Yeah,
games. Leaving it up to the
like
imagination, as you said.
oh yeah, but like Left Behind, it didn't need it. But I love Riley. She's a great character, and I think the scenes of Riley and Ellie, they didn't make me cry, but they were really emotional.
Mm-hmm.
Especially the scene where Riley is kind of making Ellie feel like a kid. She's like kind of acting out how the fighting game should be if it were to work.
Yeah,
And she's like, click this button, click that button. And you feel like you're a superstar as Ellie. You're like, wow, I could do this. This is something that, I think we forget that we have these luxuries. And the great thing about The Last of Us is it shows us that the things in the world we take for granted the most are the most important things.
mm-hmm.
Um, so Left Behind is really good. So
Yeah, yeah. From what I've
play it.
seen, I love Riley as a character. I love the dynamic between the two of them. There's a lot of really good moments in between. Like you mentioned the arcade stuff. I like the photo booth. Like they're
Oh,
taking
that's
pictures,
really
and then
good.
all
Yeah.
of a sudden it's just like, what's a Facebook? like,
Yeah, it's like, do you want to share this? I'm like, oh, maybe it prints out a picture. I'm like, no, that's not how it works.
no. Stuff like that, which
Yeah,
like it made me enjoy watching the stream, in particular, just those moments, and I mean, of course, the end, and also besides, like, it's not just all Riley and Ellie. Like, it cuts back to like right after, uh, when Joel gets
right.
stabbed by the I don't think it's a pipe, but it like
It's like
some
it's a
support
metal
beam, yeah,
thing. Yeah,
and Ellie's trying to find like anesthetics, medicine, whatever she can to
yeah,
help him out, which is it's good. So
yeah, yeah.
um,
So
should we
no,
talk
go ahead.
about gameplay now? Unless you had anything else
Yeah,
to say about Left Behind.
no, let's talk about gameplay.
Okay. So okay, I love The Last of Us, but as far as gameplay goes, it's not really the greatest.
I mean, for me, I think its major downfall. I mean, personally, is the shooting system, um, and the whole backpack system.
Yeah.
Like, and I think The Last of Us feels very slow all the time. Um, you can never run. It's always like a slow jog or a walk.
Mm,
And in the chances you can run, it's like very quick. It's doesn't last very long. I mean, those are just things that come to the top of my head, but we'll get deeper into it.
yeah, like for me, it's just like there's a good foundation there with combat, stealth, and weapons and all that. But I feel like there's just
Mm-hmm.
it to me. It's very bare bones. Like it's the base minimum of what those mechanics should be, which is
Yeah.
one of the things I like about part two, which I mean we'll get to later. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, part one, like it feels good, but I wish I could do more.
Mm-hmm. That's a good way of putting it.
Yeah.
Mr. Marvel with the goaded analogies. No, I agree with you 100%.
Yeah. Um,
But I mean, I enjoy it. Like it still feels good.
yeah.
Like,
No.
don't get me wrong. Like it's like you said, it's a solid foundation. It's not like I don't get annoyed when I play it. Like I'm like, ugh, God, the story's great, but I just want to throw my controller at the wall.
Yeah. No. It feels
Um,
good. Like everything works well. It works really well. But um, to me, the best part of gameplay is just the resource management. Like I like
mhm,
having a certain amount of ammunition or carrying a certain amount of items or
mhm,
having you're crafting some sort of you can only hold a certain amount of them or it
mhm,
it really makes you think on how to use those type of items. Like, should I really use the health pack here, or should I
yeah,
use the Molotovs in this area? Like, it can be really creative with how you implement those. I was just telling
mhm,
him not too long ago that I was I was playing through the university section, and there's a part where you
mhm,
go into a
yeah,
building, you're trying to reactivate a gate or whatever, and there's a part where it's
yeah,
just a whole bunch of clickers and some bloaters and stuff. I just told him it's like I just Molotov bloaters. It's
yeah,
just like throw a couple at them and they'll just burn to a crisp like right away. So
yeah, yeah. And I have to try that in my current playthrough. I got to be like, yeah, where's the Molotovs?
I don't know about you, but every time I go into an area, I always make sure I have at least one of everything.
Mm,
If I'm lucky enough, like I
I
try
have
to
to get
get,
better at
like I try to
managing
get
that.
like 3 med kits, 3 Molotovs, three like of this or whatever, and I try to keep as much ammo as possible. And like in certain sections, one of my favorites is also in the winter
Mm,
when you're running away from all the bandits or whatever the hell, and like I just bow and
yeah,
arrow a bunch of them because I want
mhm,
to keep my bullets for later.
yeah.
But yeah, I love all the weapons too. Like,
What do you have a favorite?
I mm, I like the hunting rifle.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, it is.
I think that's
It's
probably my
insanely
favorite.
powerful and like it is super useful against clickers, especially in certain areas. Like when you're basically trapped in certain areas, if you just one shot them with the rifle, then they go down instantly. So
Hmm. Yeah. You know what? Now I think I want to play The Last of Us tonight. Thank you.
we'll play it right afterwards.
Guys, prepare for a stream. Even
Yeah.
though this is going to be not today, but
No, no.
whatever. Um, yeah, I mean, hunting rifle's probably my favorite as well.
Yeah.
Um, I love the bow and arrow, particularly when you're playing as Ellie. I just find it a little bit funner, but
Yeah.
typically that's in Left Behind. I love just stealth killing uh, all the goons. But yeah, um, is that it for gameplay? Do you think?
Uh,
Any more?
last thing I want to mention,
Yeah,
uh,
go ahead.
fuck bloaters and fuck clickers, especially when you have no shivs.
Okay, so I hate bloaters, but clickers don't bother me as much.
Clickers are
I
not the
actually,
worst, but like Like, they
I
can
actually
sneak up on you
dislike
on
runners
occasion.
more. They can, yeah, I agree. I dislike runners more though because they show up in more groups and take longer to kill, and I just hate runners.
Yeah.
That's it. But I mean, yeah, I can see clickers do get annoying from time to time. The upgraded Shiv, oh, that's the best. When you can get the triple upgraded Shiv, that's the best.
Yeah.
One of the best upgrades in the game. I love it. It's
Oh
so
yeah, no,
helpful.
totally. Um, yeah, uh, all the upgrade, like all the permanent upgrades are super useful. Like the shivs, uh, some of them, like you can use parts to upgrade weapons, like adding the scope to your rifle, to
Yeah.
essentially turning it into a sniper. Like that's really fun. Uh,
Hmm.
there's another one I'm forgetting about. I think.
I mean, there's a double holster upgrade.
Yeah,
Um, there's guys, if you haven't played it, there's like an upgrade for every gun, and you get even for certain kinds of guns, you get different upgrades than you would for a pistol. So for the shotgun, you'll get like the amount of distance the actual pellets will kind of widen. So not going just straight, but going to the side as well. Um, you have fire rate and range. It's great. You get a lot of upgrade options for your guns.
yeah.
So another common W, another common Last of Us W. I should just talk like I'm on Twitter for the rest of the time. And also, this is a section for our sponsors. If you haven't played The Last of Us, please do so now.
Yeah,
Thank you.
you can buy part one for full price, or you can buy the remastered version, which is like $20. So,
Yeah,
or you can dig up that old PS3 that's probably all dusty in your closet and play it that way.
that would be the coolest way to do it.
It's basically how I would do it.
Play it the goated way. Be a Sigma, be a Chad, and just do it. But yes. So, moving on back to the video, that was our special sponsor
Yeah,
section. So, The Last of Us, great game.
great game.
We're moving on. No, we're not.
You
I
already
just wanted
mentioned
to hold you
graphics, which
guys.
are incredible still to this day. Like even
So, yeah.
with remastered, it's great. One of my favorite parts is the soundtrack.
Oh, dude. Oh my God. It's so good.
Yeah,
It's so good.
it is
Oh,
incredible.
yeah. I mean, it gives you this. It's so simple, and that's what I love about it. There's nothing crazy about it. Like it's very straight ahead. Um, and as some of you may know, I'm a guitar player, and I love the acoustic guitar stuff that they do in that game.
Yeah,
So pretty.
yeah. There's a lot of acoustic in there, and
Yeah.
it's great. All of it is. Like all the
Yeah.
music pieces are great. And I can't like. I mean, there's the main theme, of course, which is good.
Hmm.
I like the credits music a lot.
Hmm.
Yeah, like all of it is just
All
fantastic.
of it is superb.
It
It is
is
superb, ladies and gentlemen.
del- delightful for such a depressing game, but uh, yeah, I think that pretty much covers part one or the
Yeah.
first. Jesus Christ. Um, yeah, I don't have much to say for the first game left. Like it's you just play it. That's all that's
It's
really neat to say.
phenomenal.
It is
Play
great.
it. Like, just if you go another day of living your life and don't play The Last of Us, I wish you nothing but terrible things. No, I'm just kidding. But please play it.
Yeah.
You will not regret it unless you're a simp. In that case,
So,
you will.
yeah, simp for Joel. Yeah.
So now I assume this means we're going on to the controversial
Yeah.
but Game Awards praised The Last of Us Part 2.
So I'm curious. Have you played part two, or have you
I
just
haven't played it
watched
yet.
part two?
I've watched Part 2.
Okay, so you
And this
know
is
what
why,
happens
yeah,
all
I do.
throughout. Okay.
Now, I don't know every story beat, but I know the main things that happen. I
Okay.
know the ending, I know the death, um, I know like the pregnancy and all that stuff
Yeah.
for both characters,
Mm-hmm.
for Ellie's significant other and for the one on the other side. I don't remember her name, nor do I care until I play the game. So get that. But I'm curious for you because for me, what I was going to say is I my opinion isn't as grounded as yours because I have not actually played the whole thing, nor have I seen the whole thing. So I can't say, oh, it's a great game. Like the pacing's great and every character moment's great and everyone's fleshed out because I haven't played it myself. So I'm more curious of what you experienced.
Yeah.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, get your popcorn, sit down, and listen to the God himself speak.
God. God. Okay. Well,
Well, the God of Marvel and DC.
people are gonna discredit this religion after they hear this. So so okay. I think part two on a gameplay level is a much better, like a much better like gameplay wise it is much better than the first one. There's a lot of small stuff that they added which really goes the distance. um like they made the shiv a permanent fixture, which already is a thumbs up in my book. They added a jump
Yeah,
button, which was is you don't think it'd be useful, but it really helps, surprisingly.
yeah.
And also there's a dodge too, which
Oh,
is great, especially when you're going up against runners and like you're just dodging backwards from them. Like there's like as far as everything, it is fantastic. Every gameplay part of it, from stealth, combat, all that is upgraded to max. But what kills it is the story, and I they tried as hard as they could, and I feel like it was probably the best we could have gotten, but their best still isn't that great.
mm. So I'm curious. Go if you could go into depth. Um, why that is?
So I feel like the okay, it all starts with the opening, and the opening really doesn't do this game any favors.
Are we talking
And
about the elephant in the room?
um almost, but I just feel like them switching back and forth between both characters so rapidly
Mm-hmm.
doesn't help.
Yeah.
I mean, it gives you an idea for how the rest of the game is going to go, but it literally, after one small segment with Ellie, then it switches over to another small segment. Like it just that's basically the whole opening. And
Yeah.
yeah, that elephant in the room. See, I don't mind the idea of them killing Joel off, but at the same time, it was not executed that well.
How come?
It just like they essentially like they essentially made Joel not feel like Joel. And I guess you can
Mm.
make an argument where it was like, oh, he's been living in wherever the fuck they've been living for like the last few years. He's
Yeah.
mellowed out and whatever, but like the dude survived 20 years and could tell right away when, you know, like when they're in the car and they see that dude walking, like he seems injured, and Joel immediately is just like, this dude ain't shit.
Yeah.
You think he would have used some part of it for a large group of strangers. Like you'd
Mm.
have that small bit of him just being like, maybe I shouldn't tell them what my name is.
Right. Exactly.
So,
That's. I have not played it, but I think that. Okay, so the way they killed Joel off it's sad for a few reasons when I watch it because it's sad that Joel's getting killed off so soon with like no build up at all. Um, and now that you brought that point up, it makes it even worse because it's like, yeah, I didn't think about it that way. Like Joel was basically a walking atom bomb. Like you mess with him, you're gonna die. It doesn't matter. Like you're just. I mean, we saw what he did to um, the hell's his name in the beginning of the first game, who sold the guns. Um,
Oh yeah,
well, you know who I'm talking
yeah.
about.
No, they fucked him up real good.
Well, he just they beat him up and then they shot him right in the face. They didn't care what he had to say. They just killed him.
Not to mention they killed his entire crew also. So like,
Yeah. So like at the same time, yes, I would agree that Joel probably has mellowed out, and Joel is a much better person because of I think him kind of sort of raising Ellie, becoming a father again. But that doesn't dismiss the fact that he had all this prior knowledge. So um, I don't think that is an excuse for him to just be like, hey, like there's like 10 people here that are like dressed like they know what they're doing.
yeah, you
They're
think he would have had some thought in the back of his head where he's just like, okay, yeah, I killed a whole bunch of fireflies. There's maybe more of them out there, so I should be maybe just a little cautious in case they ever, come to find me. Like,
yeah.
so,
And
uh,
like I don't know, when I watch that scene, it's like, why would you tell them your name? Why?
yeah,
Why? Like it doesn't matter. Like, oh my god. I'm like, Joel, you dumbass. An idiot.
yeah,
But yeah, so I completely agree with that.
and I think after that, like it's, when you get into the actual game, like the next however many hours you're playing, like it's just it goes from it being really slow with Ellie's section, and then it becomes even more slow when you get to uh, Abby. Which, okay, Abby. Let's talk about her for a minute, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
Now I don't hate Abby as a concept. I like the idea
Yeah.
of revenge-driven, you know, character. It works. Whatever. My whole thing is that they try to, after they kill her off, they have these moments where it's them trying to redeem themselves, or at least trying to redeem her, but then it completely just destroys itself whenever, like, in the next minute. Like, whenever you think
Mm.
she's, being super friendly and whatnot to her friends, all of a sudden they, think she's an asshole, and then she just fucking loses it on somebody. Or
Mm.
even, she does one maybe good thing, like save Liv, and then the next minute
Yeah.
she just fucking murders Jesse and almost kills Tommy. Like it's I find it
That
so hard to connect with her because they go out of their way to like to tell you that she's an asshole. Like
yeah.
so it's just I don't know. It's and I mean I don't hate her cuz she's, I don't hate her because she's a woman. I don't hate her because she's got fucking arms the size of, Hulk Hogan. Like, it's not any of that. And anybody on the internet who
Guys,
thinks so should shut the fuck up and
yeah,
delete
cuz
your Twitter
guys, we're
account.
literally we're praising a game that's main premise is a female character.
Yeah, but it's just
Like
they go about every character in the worst way possible. Even for
now
like somebody like people I like Dina and Jesse, which Jesse they do nothing with, like
I know,
absolutely
yeah,
nothing
from
with.
all the stuff I've seen, he just kind of is thrown away.
Dina, like I don't I don't care about Dina.
Yeah.
They don't really give me a reason to care. And then she
Right.
kind of becomes useless once she, tags along on this revenge quest. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I have my own idea of what they could have done with this, but I mean, we'll save that for the end.
Yeah, I was gonna say because I'm very curious to hear it.
Yeah.
Um, would you say that Ellie was handled very poorly throughout the whole game?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a shame. Because it's like, this would have been her time to shine. Like, she
Yeah.
finally gets whole game to herself, get to explore this character, and then it's kind of wasted.
But then instead they just make her an asshole too.
Yeah,
Not only to the people around her, but also just like her murdering the shit out of an entire group of people. Like they make her like it's almost a completely different character.
yeah,
And like I could understand where that is coming from, but it's just not executed very well. That's basically
mm,
the whole grounds of the story. Everything is just not executed that well. In present day,
yeah,
when it goes to the flashbacks, those are actually where the game shines the best.
yeah.
Yeah.
How far back do they flash back?
Like it's I'd say like one of the first flashback, like it's at least a few months to like a year after, they leave the hospital and everything.
Hmm.
So like it
Oh, you
skips
talking about
pure.
the spaceship scene and
Yeah, the
everything?
spaceship stuff is good. Like uh Ellie finding out what happened, like that's a really great moment.
Was
Um
that a flashback?
yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, it's like those are where the game shines best. But when you
Yeah.
get to present day Ellie and she just is nothing like she used to be, it just
Mm,
completely sucks you out of it.
yeah.
And it's hard to really feel sympathetic for her at all.
Yeah. I mean, the way I view it, at least from an outside perspective, it's like it feels like they turned her into Joel in a way. Like I don't know. That's how it feels. I mean, I have to play it, but
Yeah.
they just turned her into this murder machine who just does really bad things all the time. But then again, I'm uncultured. Um,
Uncultured swine.
Now I don't know. Again, like most of this game is all you. Like I don't know much about the differences in gameplay. I mean, you alluded to some earlier, like the Shiv and all that.
Yeah, the Shiv is a
Um,
permanent upgrade, which already like is so much better than having just multiple Shivs. Even if you could use
yeah,
them more than once, like it
right.
it is great. It makes stealth sections like better. like
Mm, yeah,
uh like you can crawl around on the ground. Like they give you an option where you can just basically crawl through grass like on all fours, which helps
hmm,
surprisingly. Um, you can like for certain weapons you could put silencers on there and it's not even really a silent, it's just like a bottle cap, like just a bottle on there. Like
oh
makeshift silencer. Like there's a bunch of
yeah,
attachment for weapons that like it is really great. um Going through like all the gameplay portions. um yeah, it's something that it's kind of hard to talk about in detail without actually like to
yeah.
somebody who hasn't played it. So um but
Well,
you'll
when
notice
I
right
play
away
it,
that it
which
is
hopefully
like a
soon.
much improved version of regular Last of Us gameplay.
Yeah. Is there anything else you want to add on the second game?
um for That's tough because there's things that I like about it for sure, but then
Hmm.
there's a lot of it which I don't care about in the slightest.
Yeah.
And it's I'm sure people will attack being like, oh, you're against women or against LGBT, all that bullshit, whatever. That's not the point. It's just it's a bad narrative, and there could have been lots of ways to improve it. I think I
Yeah.
guess if you want me to talk about what I would have done.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm really curious.
So okay, I think, and I mean this is not really a new idea, but I think part two, or the story of part two in the present day, should have been what part three, like it should have been part three. So all the flashbacks with both Ellie and Abby, that should have been part two. So you
Hmm.
kind of build up, the tension between Joel and Ellie. You build up Abby as a character and, her struggles. Like Joel killing her dad and, you know, all the stuff with the fireflies. You build that up, and then I think with that, it makes part 3 more impact. Like, I think it would have worked better that way. Maybe,
What would you?
like, maybe instead
Yeah,
of
go ahead.
killing Joel, they could have killed, like, Tommy or something.
Mhm.
So, but that's that's the baseline of what I would have done, is just all the flashbacks and stuff. Make that the second game, and
Mhm.
then have part 3 just be what part 2 was, with
Yeah.
a few tweaks here and there. But yeah, that's it.
Yeah. That sounds like a great freaking idea. Well, now all they have to do is make part 3 and make it a friggin' flashback game. Make it a prequel.
Yeah.
Um, that's a shame that part 2. It seems like it was wasted potential.
Yeah. Yeah,
But we
that's
will
just me
see.
though, because I know once you play it, you might have very different standpoints on it. I'm actually really
Yeah,
curious to see how you feel about it once you actually do go back and, you know, once you do actually play it, because
I am too. Hopefully it's soon. I really want to get my hands on the game, and it'll probably look freaking awesome on PS5. So I'm excited for that.
yeah, graphics for that game are like incredible. Like it's one of the best looking PS4 games, for like top 5 for sure. Um,
Wow.
like the graphics are great, the atmosphere is amazing, the score once again is fantastic. Like, there are some good
Hmm.
things in there. It's just there are some things I feel that miss the mark by a
Yeah.
long shot. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, that's
At
all I have
least
to
we
say
know
on that.
one of the. At least we know one of the things that didn't miss the mark was that golf thing to Joel's head. Sorry, guys.
Oh, now I'm sad. That's horrible.
I'm so sorry, guys. I know Joel. Joel. Rest in peace to the goat, Joel. Wait, Goat Miller. There you go. Okay, so what is up next on the menu?
um,
Is there anything? Because I know you haven't seen the show, so we can't really talk about the show,
no.
at least in detail.
Uh, as far as the main stuff, I think that's pretty much all done. Um, part 1, like the remake of the first game, looks
Oh yeah, I
incredible,
wanted to. Yeah,
but
I was gonna
is
say I wanted to
for the
hear your
most
opinion
part
on this.
unnecessary.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Yeah.
besides graphics, it doesn't really change much of any. Like, even the gameplay enhancements, they don't bring over to part 1 at all.
Mm.
Like, they still keep the multiple shivs, all that stuff. Like, it's still there, which it feels weird. See, like, I don't know why they would revert back to that when everybody and their grandma knows that, like, part 2 gameplay wise is just better. I guess, like, for some stuff they couldn't really incorporate because of how the game is actually designed, but it's still,
Mm.
like, the dodge would have been great to see in part 1, and also the
Yeah.
shiv too, and all the enhancements to weapons and stuff. Like, that would have worked well, but um, so yeah,
Yeah.
I've only played a little bit of the remake, but um, if I were you, I would not buy it right away. I would wait a year or
No.
so when the game is like $20-$30, and then you snag it. So
Yeah.
that's
No,
it.
I think that's probably the plan. It's just way too expensive. It's
Yeah.
like I'm not spending $70 on a game I already have. Um,
Yeah.
like, yeah, it looks amazing. I've seen gameplay of it as well, and looks freaking incredible. But uh, once I get the second one and play through that, um, finish the show,
Mm-hmm.
which now we know. Oh, I actually this could be another thing because I was curious if you heard this news and how you feel about it. They're going to be adapting season 2 of the show as The Last of Us Part 2. Now, for me personally, I think this is a time where they can rectify the mistakes made in the game. I think it's a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm curious, as someone who's actually played it, what your opinion is.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the rare cases where I'm hoping that they tweak a lot more. Because if they are really going to go for part two story, then I'm hoping there's a lot of it that is reworked and a
Yeah,
lot of it that just is better. So,
yeah,
um, I mean, we'll have to wait and see if the quality is still up to par for Last
right.
of Us. But um,
Mm.
I'm not surprised that they went with this. So
Yeah, me neither. I mean, that was kind of what I was hoping for, just because of kind of what I just said. It's like they can tweak stuff, make it better. Um, but we'll see what happens. Like, first season's still not over. We got a couple weeks left of that, so
yeah,
we'll see. And the last thing I wanted to ask you is, did you hear about this new Last of Us game, like the all multiplayer one?
yeah, I heard
I'm
about
not.
it. Um, I
I'll probably play it,
I
but I
think
don't
they're
know.
only making that because the remake because there was a multiplayer mode in the first Last of Us, and
Yeah,
they
there
didn't
was.
have it
Yeah,
for part one. So I think they're just gonna turn that into their like it's they're just turning that into its own product. I'm just hoping that they're not
yeah.
selling it at full price or anything like.
Me too. Because like, I'm not trying to pay $70 on a PS5 for, which is already outrageous. PS5 games should not be $70, but that's another issue all in itself.
Yeah.
Um, I'll probably play it as long as it's not full priced. Like, that'd be a cool, not let's play, but speaking nerd plays thing for you and I, because I know the other guys are too chicken. You're too chicken to face me, Batman. But
Yeah.
yeah, so I'll probably pick it up if it's not full priced as well. But
Yeah.
if Goat Miller isn't a playable character, maybe I won't get it.
Yeah, they could totally make like skins or whatever where you can play as Joel and Ellie or whatever.
I'm just hoping it's not sort of like a like battle royale and like it's just a bunch of battle pass crap. That would be terrible. Can you imagine? It's like you can be a clicker in the Last of Us multiplayer. Just buy the skin pack.
Clicker
Or
skins.
yeah, it's like the tier 100 skin is like a bloater skin. It's like, oh
Emotes.
my god, yeah.
See Joel Miller do the giddy or what it's called.
there's there's a wait, were you the no, my brother showed me this video of Joel doing the gritty and it was like Rick from The Walking Dead. And he was like, Joel, stop doing the gritty in front of the clickers.
Yeah.
It'll upset them. And he's just like doing the gritty. I'm like, okay, that's gonna happen in this game, I bet you.
Light
But
skin
yeah,
stare
so
as an emote.
the Riz Joel Rizzler.
If they're making
Oh,
skins, then you know that for sure they're gonna do like Pedro Pascal as a skin.
yeah, that would be cool. Like I'd be down for that.
Yeah.
But by the way, Pedro Pascal is a phenomenal Joel so far. He's
Yeah.
very good.
Yeah.
But no one is Troy Baker.
No.
No one. That man is. People call Pedro Pascal daddy. I think this guy is king. That is Troy Baker. He is the king, baby.
I mean, I'm kind of sick of Troy Baker, but that's just me.
Well, he's king as Joel. That's what I mean.
I mean, yeah.
But yeah, that's it.
That's that's the
That's it for
episode.
me, anyway.
Yeah, I don't really have much else to say. I mean, we'll talk about the TV show once it finishes up for sure.
Yeah.
But until then, uh, that is all your Last of Us content, I guess.
Yeah.
Um, so why don't you tell the good people where to find you and what you're up to?
You can find me at 10670. No, I'm just kidding. Um, yeah, I was trying to give you all my address, but not going to happen.
Oh, I almost put my social security number in there.
Sorry about that, guys. That's a minor slip up. That happens a lot.
Yeah.
No, so you can find me on Instagram. You can find me on Twitter, which is mostly where I kind of do the whole YouTube interactions. And I kind of talk mostly about comics and, whatever I'm into at the moment, which is The Last of Us and Superman. So find me on Twitter. You can also subscribe to my YouTube channel, which I believe is in the links below anyway. So you can check that out. I'm doing The Last of Us remastered playthrough. I'm going to start part 3 maybe tonight, or a couple days ago for you guys. But yeah, that's me. What
Awesome.
about you, Marvel?
So for me, by the time this goes out, my first movie review should be out.
Yeah! Let's go, baby!
Talking about Sam Raimi's...
it's Superman Returns.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding.
Sam Raimi's Superman Returns.
It's not.
No, we're talking about Sam Raimi's Spooderman with Tobin,
Are you there, Marvel?
Tobin Bell and Willem.
My brother just died on the mic.
Besides that, I'm working on the next
review. I'm going to leave the call and see if it... can't hear you at all.
Weird. Anyway, that's going to be it for the podcast. Have a great night. Take care, everyone. Thank you so much for...
All right. It might be something on your end. I can't hear you.
I don't know. Anyway, see ya.